Hello, hello. Thank you everybody for joining us for what might be the very last time. Today we're kind of doing something a little bit different, a little send off for YPQ with the people behind the scenes. And yeah, we've got some goodies, some treats in store. So without further ado, let's hand it off to Josh and go from there.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And along with it being a farewell, it's obviously a celebration, really, in terms of reflecting on everything your paper quest has achieved. It's a good opportunity for us to reflect on some of the great moments and maybe also a bit of a discussion in terms of what's next in regards to self-publishing as well going forward. I know, Steve, obviously you'll have some particular thoughts on that, I imagine. But to start things off, I think we should have a little bit of fun. Let's test your knowledge a bit. Let's add a little bit of a competitive spice, a bit of energy to see who knows book covers better. So what I'm going to do is I will show on screen a series of book covers,
Mm.
and I want you to guess the name of the cover or the name of the book, and then if possible, if you can give me the author as well, then do that as well. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the test one. This is the test one.
This one I'm gonna have to
Um,
say is the first rule by Stephen William Hanna. I can say that pretty confidently.
yeah, Ryan,
Incorrect.
Yeah,
Ryan, you get the
Oh,
point.
I get the
Steve, that's a
point.
little bit disappointing from you. I thought you might have known that one, but apparently not. Are we
All right,
ready for number two? All right,
we
Ryan, show
are.
you number two.
I'm gonna go for it. Oh, this is Boddicker
Bonifer
letters by
letters
AC
SE
Cross.
Cross.
I'm putting that down. I'm
All
putting
right.
that down as a draw. That one's a draw.
Fair,
Okay,
All right, you ready?
fair.
that's a draw. You both get a point for that one. Yep. And the next one.
Holler. Oh gosh.
Oh, oh,
Eric Kruger.
Yeah, that's
damn it.
you, Ryan. That's you. You got that one.
Oh, this is
All
cool.
right.
Who's Jeff Kaczynski and why was I going to shout that? We've never had a Jeff Kaczynski. I don't know
We
who
have
Jeff
not had a
Kaczynski
Jeff
is.
Kaczynski. I'm pretty sure that's the guy, that's the math teacher from Oklahoma. Um,
Ted Kaczynski, that's Uncle Ted, man. Put some respect on his name.
okay, well, all right, next one.
Yep.
Oh,
My
my
boss
boss is
is
the
the devil.
devil, Ben Shankman.
I think you got that one as well, right? You might be shouting out louder as well,
Yeah,
which
I got my
is
mic here. I'm
adding
just
you.
talking
You've
into.
clearly got a benefit there.
Yeah. I've got the acoustics on my side.
Oh,
Something in velvet. A murder in velvet. A
Yeah,
lesson in
yeah, that's
velvet.
it.
Something.
That's it. Yeah,
by
Death in Velvet.
Rose Donovan.
Yeah, Rose Donovan is the name as well.
Man, I was going to say
Steve, I'm giving.
Bet Donovan, but that's a book.
Man, because this is the thing, and apologies to the authors here. The reality is, it's been years, and there's a lot of books, so it's easy to get them all mixed up.
Yeah, yeah, we're trawling further back now.
All
But
right,
Steve, I'm giving you that one. That
Oh, sweet,
one's
sweet.
that one's yours.
horrendous. Okay, let's
I'm on
see.
to it.
This one, I'm expecting one of you to answer pretty quickly. I'll be disappointed if you don't. Ready?
Oh, Orchard of Skeletons by Eli
Orchard of
Wilde.
There
Skeletons.
we go.
Damn
There we
it.
go. I was expecting Ryan, no hesitation on that
Yeah,
one, of
Yep.
course.
eat it, Steve. That's one of my favorites.
Amen.
Um,
Same.
All right,
the
let's go.
next one.
Oh,
That's the Teddy and Bar
Teddy and
Show.
Barrett Show by Will Tinkham.
Yeah,
By
there you go.
what's
It does
his
say at the
what's the guy's
bottom.
name?
Will
I
Will
thought,
Tinkham.
Tinkham.
yeah,
Oh, it's written down.
It's written down. Come on, Steve.
I left that on there because I thought the cover, the amount of blank space on the cover makes it quite hard to maybe actually work out what the cover looks
Oh,
like.
this
So I
is
thought I might
cool.
as
I
well
know
give
it,
you a
man.
clue on that one. The last one you should both know.
Orphan
Orphan
Planet,
Planet by Rex Burke.
Rexburg.
There you
Yeah.
go. I'll give you that.
Oh, that was
That's yours,
cool.
Steve. Okay, there you go. Well done, Ryan. I think you ran home with that one. You were very quick on those answers, so that's good. So well done to you. You are the
Thank you.
champion.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to
I'm a
figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Am
Just
I
Maybe.
show everyone all of YPQ's YouTube analytics. Why not?
right? Oh, there's
It's
the button. There's the button. I found it. I found it. We're golden.
And now
Ryan.
we've got a quick fire round as well.
Oh yes.
A few different questions. Some of them all right. Some of them a bit random.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh dear.
That's cool.
Again, whoever answers quickest, but you're gonna have different answers for different things, of course. I just thought it might be a bit of fun, and then we'll get into some other questions. So, question one: what has been a personal favorite from the submissions from YPQ that you've
Oh,
read?
that's so hard.
That one guy's immigration papers.
That is true. Somebody did send in their like immigration documents that like claiming
Really?
refugee status. It was pretty sad and also just like what is going on.
Yeah, I
Um,
was like, bro, you're okay. Like, this should really get the correct authorities. Like,
yeah, you should be sending this
Yeah.
to the right people.
And why did you find out why they got sent?
No,
no,
this is so the behind the scenes here is we got I would say anywhere from like 3 to 5 submissions a day at the heyday, and I think one of my biggest pet peeves was authors are not as good of readers as you would think. Because when you submit your story, you have the submissions guidelines, and the submissions guidelines will say no AI, like formatted to this, this many pages, like in between this many pages, and the best submissions were always the ones that actually followed the guidelines. Like the ones that came
yeah.
in pre-formatted were the best ones always.
Interesting.
Also,
Interesting.
honorable mention to Bigfoot's Lover, which was a
Hmm.
beautiful 50-page read, which blew me away, but we could not feature it because it was smut. But but it was beautiful smut
Though
with a real
there's quite
lesson to it.
So I'll say over the years, we've definitely accumulated quite a few submissions where, on one hand, we look at each other and we're like, what is this? And on another hand, we're like, this is brilliant. What is going on? And we've had stories come in that we've loved, and then the authors don't want to partake, which is kind of disappointing as well. For the other reason of we just spent 2 days reading
Mhm.
your book that you sent in, and we'd love to take part, but everyone's got their reasons. I think for me, in terms of like my favorite submission, poof, I don't know. I'm looking
Submission
at the
narrows it.
books.
Does it have to be one that we featured?
No, I don't think it does.
And that's what's interesting because when I wrote down that question, I thought it would just be I was just thinking of the books that would be on your shelf would be
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
ones that were actually
there
done.
was quite a
I
few,
haven't actually
quite
heard
a few
either
that
of you refer to, and that's not saying the books that went out weren't good. It's just it's
no,
interesting that there's actually a whole world of books out there that you kind of not been able to feature or not featured for whatever reason that might be. But it's very
yeah,
interesting to learn
uh,
that there are a lot of stuff
Night
you've read that you really like.
Nightjar by Paul Jameson. One of my
uh,
favorite books of all time. It's one of those like books that's unadaptable as a film. It's bizarre, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's post-apocalyptic England drowned by water, and magic's coming back into the world. And like the Pied Piper steals some children and stuff. Beautiful book. Ryan did not Ryan did not
yeah.
get
That
what was going
one.
on.
As much as I could follow, I couldn't truly follow it. And
There's a
this was
couple. I think all of my favorites are ones that I was like, "This is art. This is high literature." And Ryan's like, "I couldn't get past chapter two of what's going on," and
and
that's a good
this
measure. Like that's why it needed two of us, I guess, because I would just put the most insane stuff in the box if allowed to run free.
Yeah. I mean, there was, and Josh, to answer your question, I think for me it would be books that came in through the box, like books like Orchard of Skeleton, books Desserts and Dragons. Like there's quite a few, or
Mhm.
Mark of Eternity. Like there's quite a few that over the years have always stuck with me. Um, but there's also just been submissions that I haven't even read that just like from the cover art you're sitting there being like what the hell like there's like schizophrenic this and that and just it got crazy because at the end of the day self-publishing and the pros and cons of it are that you can do whatever you want. You have full creative control. There is no the barriers to entry are slimmer than they've ever been. And if you can write a manuscript and upload it online, or even just send us a manuscript that isn't online, that could be
Mhm.
fully considered. So it opened a lot of doors to just sheer chaos behind the scenes. But one of my biggest pet peeves would be getting a story that I would read a chapter of and I'd really like, and then I'd go and check and it's 800 pages. I'm like, come on, guys, just
Yeah,
read the thing. Or like, or doing that and really enjoying it and then Googling it and seeing that the cover is AI. But yeah,
Interesting.
the submissions process it was always fun because you'd wake up,
it
you'd
was a
have a
lottery.
text. Yeah, there's a lot of lore. You'd wake up with to a text from Steve being like, "You got to read this. We can't feature it, but you got to read it."
Was there a lot of between the two of you? Was there a lot of differences when it came to certain submissions and stuff like that? Was there a lot of stuff where it was
Oh
kind of you were
God,
just kind of not on the same page, or was it broadly kind of
yeah.
happy
Yeah.
families?
Pun intended. Yeah, constantly, which was good because there's books that Ryan would like that I'm like, this is the most mundane, normal genre stuff. Like it's not pushing any boundaries, but it's a
Yeah.
fine read. That's fine. There's a time and a place for that, and I would come in with something that's basically the Unabomber's manifesto, and I'd be like, we got to feature this. Uh, and the middle ground, I think, is where you find the really good stuff.
Mhm.
Like Dead Orchid is another one which I recently actually got to read the whole way through, and it's just as well that we didn't feature it because it's horrifying. It's basically train spotting in Cambodia with like a crossover episode on Epstein Island.
Oh
Horrifying, absolutely
wow.
horrifying because no way we could have featured it. And especially when we started running in America, where there was more people, more subscribers, sure, but also I'm sure Ryan can speak to this, like a greater sense of sensibilities. There were probably people like
Yeah.
definitely some subscribers who wouldn't have appreciated some of the stuff that we might have featured.
Mm,
So we had to
yeah.
be a bit more careful with that. And
And this,
Ryan's got a better finger on that pulse than I do.
yeah, this comes down to I think the two books that we featured that I don't have regrets over, but that I was nervous about sending out were
Oh yeah.
Orchard of Skeletons and oh gosh, what's it called? Dark Bloom?
Dark Bloom, yeah.
Yeah,
The zombie one by
and
Marlon
Dark
Cab.
Bloom. Those
Yeah,
were those were the two that I remember sending out and being like, okay, we're gonna see if we get pushback for this because a lot of readers really like it, but I think for me, whereas Steve liked the experimental stuff as much as I do, I had the mentality or my mentality was always around, is this gonna be accessible? Because at the end of the day,
yeah,
YPQ was not a genre specific box. And you had to make sure that if somebody doesn't like romance, the romance book that they get is still something that they could enjoy just based on whether or not it's a well-written story. But because
yeah.
of that, you can't go too far down the deep end. I think what we got away
Mhm.
with Dark Bloom as Orchard of Skeletons is that we sent him out on Halloween.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. And I think that's interesting, if you are kind of going at it from different perspectives at times, because that does
mhm.
reflect also what the experience of reading is, obviously, because a lot of
Fine.
people like different things. That's just how it works. And also potentially also then the challenge when it comes to, YPQ in terms of you're not going to have a submission or you're not going to have a book that fits all your
Oh
audience.
yeah,
Not everyone is
No,
going to like Orchard of Skeletons the same way not everyone's going to like the Buddha whatever it is and stuff like that. So yeah, so that makes sense. That is not quite what we wanted for the quickfire round,
that's all
but
right.
that's a
yeah.
really
It was
interesting
Try and go
answer.
quicker.
it was always
That
gonna
was the
turn into
longest
tangents.
quickfire round question that I've ever heard, but maybe that's on me for the question test.
Yeah.
So, quick answers. So the first one, uh, original branding or the new branding?
No, the new Brandon.
Ooh,
New
new
branding.
branding, new branding.
Okay, bro. Um, do you prefer a happily ever after story ending, or do you prefer a darker, twisted ending?
Dark Twisted.
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet, interesting. Okay.
Ooh,
Um,
Happy ending though. Happy ending.
yeah, okay. Fantasy or sci-fi?
sci-fi.
Why not both?
Yeah, yeah,
If I had to pick sci-fi,
yeah. Science fantasy, that works as an answer, that's fine. Um, ghosts or vampires?
Ooh.
ghosts,
Ghosts. Okay. Romance or historical fiction?
Oh, damn.
historical fiction.
Historical fiction.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
um, UK or US?
US.
UK, Scotland, baby, come on.
And then the final question, favorite genre?
Cosmic horror.
I think for me, it's still sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Okay,
Sci-fi
cool.
or like dystopian post-apocalyptic. I love a good story like that.
Oh,
I know
same,
there's
same.
obviously a lot of crossovers with everything, really, but
Yeah.
but no, that's
Well, and
that's
that's
super
one
interesting.
of the fun things is getting the different genre blending.
Yeah. Troop of Shadows, Western
Yeah.
chameleon elf fantasy, like Weird West, but also
With
there's elves with
samurais.
samurai colours. Yeah, I loved Troop of Shadows.
That's a good point. I'm sorry, I'm turned around because I have all of my YPQ books on the shelf down here, so I'm looking at them.
That's
Um,
neat.
the
Necrotown was a good mix of genres as well.
Necrotown was interesting because Necrotown wasn't
Necrotown.
anything. Necroton wasn't anything I would have read on my own, and I've just loved the world that he built.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And it was a weird mashup of like urban noir,
Hmm.
also Discworld. Like something very Terry Pratchett about it. Like there's
And
gargoyles, yeah, but they hang out on street corners and take drugs. Like,
but then there's also, I guess, I don't want to say more traditional genres, but there's more, excuse me, there's more genre fitting like thrillers that I felt pushed the boundaries, like books like Domestication, which I just
oh
felt
yeah,
was a fever dream the
Patience,
whole
very
time.
good. Yeah.
I
love
loved it.
domestication.
Yeah. There was a lot of, and I think this is to the point of I like the nitty-gritty kind of gruesome endings because those are the ones that tend to
Mhm.
stay with me the most. Like I keep coming back to Mark of Eternity, which the sequel is out. I have it on my shelf. I can't wait to read it.
Some, yeah.
But and that's actually been, sorry, I'm going from one tangent to another here. That's been one of my, one of the bittersweet moments of closing YPQ and saying goodbye to YPQ is that throughout the last 4 years, when an author that we featured releases a book, we haven't really had a chance to go through and read it because we're so focused on curating the next month, next month, next month. And now we're lucky enough, or like lucky enough to get to go back and say, hey, there's three more books in this series that I haven't had a chance to read yet. I can actually go back
Mhm.
and I can finish the series with Orphan Planet. I just finished reading the ending of The Secret of the Reapers. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Sarah McKnight.
it's a fantastic ending, Steve. Um,
Oh, good. I'll get round to it. I've got 170 books to get through.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that like you can now read books that are 500 pages or 700 pages. Like I have The Rain That Makes the River, and that's a
Yeah,
good
boy.
500 pager. I'm excited about.
Hmm. Funky boy.
Um, so it's been nice to kind of reclaim reading outside of a because it got stressful. There were months where we were really like
Oh,
we've got
yeah.
3 days to come up with a book and we've got nothing. Like submissions aren't coming through. People we're reaching out to aren't about it. Um, and I
I
think
remember I remember the month where we were really struggling to find a match for a book that we had. We were reading anything to try and find it, and we got like 200 pages each into. Remember the book where it's basically
it
Twilight, but
was
there's
like
a
Twilight.
5,000-year-old vampire who turns
Yeah.
into a panther, and he also is romancing like a 13-year-old girl. When I got to that point, I was like, "Oh, for God's sake! Like,
Yeah.
we can't feature this. This is awful." And we just were running out of time so badly.
And that was the one moment where it really lined up for us because I remember that week I was moving. It was kind of a hectic mess on my end. We had read, I think it was like 80 pages of My Boss is the Devil, and we
Yeah.
loved it. But a lot of the times we don't like we went through submissions, but there was also an element of it, especially at the beginning, where Steve was looking at books and looking up authors. And
Mhm.
we were reading this and we were loving it, but we couldn't get a hold of the author. And since we were on such a deadline, we had to just move on to the next one. And then I remember getting a haircut and leaving the haircut place with like 24 hours left, not sure what to do. And then My Boss is the Devil came in as a submission. And we're like, what are the odds? And we went with it. And it was such a
Yep.
smooth process. And Ben was a star about it. Um,
I
but
remember you texting me about that, like, "Yo, guess what just dropped."
but no, it
Right?
did come down to the wire fairly often. And it's just
Yeah,
I think a part of that is just there's a lot of trust in something like this, and the self-published world is full of scams. And
yeah. There was a lot of authors who were doubtful because, like, it was a good deal, and a
yeah,
good deal is really hard to come across in the self-published space where someone's not just trying to get your credit card details.
yeah, exactly. So it took time. You had contracts you had to go through, you had to read the book. And Josh, I hate to say it, you know the amount of times we would read a book and get like 200 pages in, and then an author would drop like an N word or get really racist or
Yeah.
something like that. It was
This
absurd.
kept happening. This kept on happening. Like this
Yeah.
kept happening to us, and we were like, "Oh, but it's historical fiction, so I get like it makes sense in the period of time." Is that?
Raises
Oh,
some
can we do
interest. Yeah,
that? Like,
raises questions, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Like there were definitely moments where there's books I would have loved to feature, but then you got like a 10-page tirade where the author just goes off the deep end. And I think that's the other side of self-publishing. Is
yeah,
that it's one thing to write a really good short story or a really good chapter. It's another to write 30 consecutively. And People do it every day, but even from our end, finding them wasn't necessarily easy. I remember to get the first like 15 or 20 features, we had to go through 500-ish books. It's
Yeah, that was
crazy.
a lot.
Question I do have, thinking back, let's go kind of right back a couple of years. How did YPQ actually start? How did you guys come into conversation? How did it kind of develop from there?
Okay, so basically I first moved to London in I want to say 2016 or 2018. 20 yeah, one of those years for an internship, and I never read growing up. And I started reading to and from work on the tube on the train every day. And by the end of it, I had accumulated like 40 books. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Um, got home. I don't have the world's best memory, so I started doing a little Bookstagram account to document my reading. Picked up a bit of a following. So people started asking me to review their self-published books, which at this point I had no idea what a self-published book was. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Majority of which were terrible, but it was still like someone was sending me a signed book. That's cool. Had this idea ruminating for years about like, oh, it'd be cool to connect self-published authors with readers, but it's also COVID, life's kind of a mess, da 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 da. So fast forward a few years, idea still ruminates, but I'm doing my master's, and it ended up being the capstone project for my master's. And the way Steve and I met was my friend was showing me how to use Twitter because I'd never used it before. And I had this Excel spreadsheet on my computer that had like title, genre, page count, author name, like email address. And I was basically creating a list of like 300 self-published books that I was going to cold email the authors because I had the idea, but I didn't know how to go about it. And I was basically thinking like, okay, well, let's see if these authors would be interested in taking part. I don't know how I'm going to read everything. And then I came across Steve because I searched the hashtag self-published, and this guy's tweet came up of like, I think it was like, hey guys, I hate myself and I'm gonna read 30 self-published books this year and tell you how it goes. And then I sent him a message on Instagram because I don't think I knew how to on Twitter. And
Yeah.
we called and it just went well.
And then it was, I think you asked me, you're like, I'd been reading or I'd been doing the first chapters or something where I was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to go through anyone who sends me a book, anyone, I'll read the first chapter. And if I like it, I'll let you know. If I don't, I'm going to anonymously explain why, so that other authors can get an impression of it. And you messaged me like, how are you doing? How are you getting through so many books? And I told you, and you were like, sweet, do you want a job? I was like, okay, sure, why not? Sounds fun. And it was.
And that,
Yeah, it
Great fun.
was.
that's in kind of inherent kind of throughout the journey of YPQ in terms of building connections and a sense of
Mhm.
community as well with
Mm.
the authors. I mean, don't get ahead of me in terms of one of the questions I've got coming up, but the
Oh yeah.
developing those kind of relationships, I think, and the moments when that can come together and when you can develop, a bit more than just that kind of first conversation and going a bit beyond that. So it's nice that that's kind of where its foundations are as well in terms of how you two came to me and how that
Oh yeah.
relationship between the two of you has developed from there. Um, and then what part of the YPQ process have you enjoyed the most? Obviously, we've talked about the submissions, so that might be your answer. But I'm just curious, is there something else like Ryan? Have you enjoyed all those many, 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 many parcels that you've had to put together in terms of for
Oh
boxing things up
man.
and sending them off, the bookmarks, all that sort of stuff. Is there particular things that stand out as part of the process that you've enjoyed or perhaps haven't enjoyed as much?
I mean, I think for me, my favorite part was always the interviews with the authors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, because that was like, I think it was a little nerve-wracking, like the whole don't meet your heroes kind of thing. But it was really cool to actually get to dive into that. When it comes to building the boxes and everything, that's where it felt like work. That was where I would just end up sitting in my desk or sitting on my table like having YouTube on in the background is putting one box together after another. So it was a bit more mundane, and the bigger we got, the longer that took. I didn't really think through scale in that capacity, but it was still fun. Like it's a great privilege to be able to do something like that for work. But I will say for me the biggest takeaway was always the interviews with the authors.
Probably getting to meet a bunch of these authors, like authors who have become
Mhm.
some of my favorite authors in the world in my life that I've ever read, like real inspirational people. Getting to meet some of them in person
Yeah.
in Rochester, that was really cool, man. That was a real highlight. Twice, that was great. Rochester was great fun, man.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that
I was
was
gonna say, I mean, that was one of the questions I had, which
Oh
I'm
yeah,
glad
yeah.
you mentioned because that's when I wrote that down, I was like, if that visit doesn't get mentioned, then I'll certainly mention it because that
yeah,
was such
please.
a kind moment to have everyone there together and to get to
Rochester
meet
felt
some of
like
the
a stag
people
do.
and go like, and do all that sort of stuff was really fantastic. It was a really great day and something
Yeah.
that I think I'll always remember in terms of linking it through to YPQ. And obviously,
Mhm.
that's the only time I've met both of you in person as well as part of
Yeah,
that. That's the
yeah.
main thing there. But that is such a great moment, especially for you, Ryan, to kind of have that all come together.
I remember because I was leaving the UK the next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really nice kind of, for lack of a better word, like closing chapter, closing moment of everything. Yeah, it felt like an immense privilege to be a part of it, and it felt like we're actually connected to the community. We're actually doing something. Yeah, it was just plus like I'd met Steve a few times before, but getting to meet you in person, getting to see Ollie, getting to see the other Steve Russell, Rex,
Hmm.
Jennings, it was just yeah, it's just really cool to see everyone come together. Even Charlie Fish. Yeah, it's not too often that you build something, you get to see it come to fruition like that, regardless of whether or not it continued on. It was still really cool to say, hey, this didn't exist last year, and here it is now.
Hmm.
So that was a nice feeling. I was gonna say,
Everyone was starting together.
I think for me it was doing an author interview over Christmas when Steve was in a hostel in Thailand.
Yeah. I was me and my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but me and my fiance at the time were like backpacking through Southeast Asia. And I was like, yeah,
Wow.
I can pull this off. It's fine. There was no Wi-Fi, like terrible signal on the balcony of a hostel in the middle of the jungle. Like it's Christmas. Let's let's have an interview. And that was great fun, man. I done a lot of reading on that trip, which was good. And I also had to, we were featuring my book Icebreaker because we needed like a month covered for it. And so I had to put together the author letter, the note from the
The
author,
note, yeah.
Yeah.
put that together in a truck stop in Vietnam, 20 yards away. They're butchering chickens for dinner and stuff, and my wife's horrified. I'm like, hold on, hen, I need to I need to write fake scientific paper on MS Word.
I think it's
It
very
worked
much
out.
the case of I think this would have only ever worked with the right like people in mind. Like if you're coming in this trying to I don't know, if you have the wrong motives or whatnot, I don't think it would have ever gotten as far as it did. I think it was really nice to see that everyone was on board, even if times were tough, even if we were busy or whatnot, we could still make the time for it. It felt like a cool little priority that we're all working on. And it means a lot all around.
Yeah.
I
Brilliant.
think I knew quite early on when Ryan had contacted me about it, and we were like, right, how are we going to do this? And because I'm an author myself and such a big advocate for self-published authors, early on I was like, we need to pay the authors. Like
Yeah.
authors don't get paid for anything.
Yeah.
We need to pay them. And Ryan was immediately like, oh, obviously, of course. Like we got to pay them. And it
Yeah.
was them working out how we would pay them and stuff. Because
And
all I knew of Ryan was that he was like Ryan's got the business head and I've got the weird art guy head. And together, that's a powerful combination. But like either of us on our own would have fallen over so many obvious traps
oh, it would have been
and tripped up.
it would have been terrible. Um,
It would have been so bad.
But yeah, I think from it, like, and it's been a really rewarding experience more than anything
Mhm.
with the authors, because a lot of authors we've worked with have said this is one of the more like validating experiences that they've had. And
Mhm.
I think it's really nice to just be able to encourage and continue that, because if we don't, unfortunately, it will go away. And I think
Yeah.
that's the kind of the purpose of it all is that if you don't share the little guy's voice, the little guy won't be around no more.
That for me has been what's so valuable in terms of what YPQ has offered is, that clear focus on supporting the authors. That's what it's there. That's what it's been there for from my perspective, and I'm sure it's as you said, it sounds like it's from yours as well. So that's what's been very important about what YPQ has offered, and I think that's something that is should be encouraged moving forwards, within self-publishing itself. And that leads on to the next question in regards to, thinking more widely. Where do you want to
Also,
see self-published writing lead to?
Spotify Discovery playlist, but for self-published authors and artists. There you go.
There you go. That's good.
I,
That's a
I
big
Something like that.
that's a
I,
big
I
thought,
think
yeah.
the biggest thing that we fought the whole time was stigma. The self-published
Yeah,
stories get a bad rep, and unfortunately, based on the submissions we got, a lot of that rep is deserved. Um,
it's completely deserved.
the reality is you have a lot of weeds to dig through. There's a lot of people that, they it's a craft. Like all things, it's a craft, and the more you practice, the better you become. You're not gonna be a hits $1 million selling artist overnight or anything like that. And whether it's music or whether it's this, and I think that there's so much beauty and so many gems out there, but unfortunately, there is a little bit of weeds around, and that was what we were trying to show is that even though there's weeds, there's still amazing stories out there. So don't discredit them just because they're self-published.
Right, I just got one last question, which is very
Mhm.
simple. Can you summarize YPQ in 3 words?
Your paper quest.
No, no, not
Hats
those three
off.
words, Ryan.
Hats off, man.
Um,
Hey, hey, people. Maybe. I think Ryan, now that all this is over,
yeah.
you're aware that you started every interview with the same two phrases.
Oh yeah.
That it became like a see, after a while I was like, you've got to keep it going now.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
got to, you
Yeah,
can't
well, that's
stop.
why I was asking. I said, what is it that Ryan normally says at the start of every one? That's what I was going to say. That's how I
Uh,
was going to start it.
Hey,
yeah.
hey.
Hats off, guys.
Hats off to you, man. Hats
Hats
off
off
to
to
you.
you.
He doesn't even wear a hat. I'm the one that wears a hat.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just easier for me to stick to one thing. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel like I have to come up with something different every single time. And it
I
adds
would
up over
also
time.
sum up, I could 3 word summarize it as was it deliberate?
That's a good one too. That's a good one too.
That might have been my favorite part of YPQ was getting to ask authors if all these weird little things that I picked up on was deliberate. And half the time they're like, nope.
I
Another
really
half
like
the
that
time
answer,
they're like, yeah,
actually.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That's
really fun
just
answer.
that was always fun.
Maybe Ollie Jacobs cover.
Ollie Jacobs cover, yeah.
God, Wrath of
I
the
still can't.
Lands will forever stay with me. On that note, my friends, we've got about 35 seconds left. And just a huge thank you again to everybody who took part, whether it was an author, whether it was a reader, and obviously all three of us as well. Like, wouldn't have been here without any of you. So thank you guys all.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'd like to thank Stephen William Hanna for his part in all of this.
Yes, this man right here would not exist without him. And thank you, Josh, for everything. It's been
No,
an incredible experience, and I know
Amen.
there's more to come.